And welcome everyone to another episode of Stagged Odds. We have a very special guest today, someone who's not commonly speedrunning all the time, but he's doing a lot of other things which I'm very much familiar with. And one of the things is achievements, which we're going to talk a lot about in this podcast, most likely. But yeah, Ravenous, how's it going? Tell me about yourself.
Well, I am Ravenousld3341 on everywhere. PlayStation, Steam, Discord, and Twitch. And I have dabbled in speedrunning, and I did okay. I tried a few games, but, a while back I broke my wrist when I wrecked a dirt bike, and I just haven't quite gotten into it yet because I fell into a habit of running down achievements in a bunch of games because I couldn't go fast when my wrist was hurt. So I picked a lot of games to go slow in and just get all of the achievements in them.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I remember you mentioned about that. When was the first time you actually started to speedrun, or like has this been like over a decade ago you watched someone speedrun, then you can kind of get into it yourself? I know you don't do a lot of speedrun, or you didn't used to do a lot of speedrun in general, but I do remember you playing at least some X games at some point, right?
Well, yeah. So Megaman 11 had just came out, and I saw that you were running it in GDQ.
Yeah.
So I watched that run, and I was like, well, what's a Mega Man game I know front to back? And it was Mega Man X. So I was like, you know what? I'll try this out, see how it is. And I had a lot of fun in Mega Man X. I think I got 500 runs in, which, to some of the runners that only run that game that are up in the thousands, that's nothing. But
yeah,
running Mega Man X 500 times for me was quite a lot.
Yeah.
I think I ended up getting my time down to like 42, 43 minutes, somewhere in there. I can't remember where I am on the leaderboard.
And was that the 100% category?
Yeah, that's the category I like. And then I was going to branch out to other games. I tried a lot of other things, but I just couldn't find another thing that clicked. And then you were like, well, I'll learn X3. I was like, you know what? That sounds fun. I'll try X3 as well. And that's when I broke my wrist.
Oh, well, unfortunate timing, but of course that's an injury that really just pulls you off from a hobby like this. But I'm glad you have been doing other stuff after your little speedrun activity there. Like I was checking your YouTube channel and your Twitch channel yesterday, checking some further information about you, like a spy should. There's some, obviously the X stuff, but you have been doing a lot of other stuff as well, like RPGs mostly, I think. What do you think about those games? I see you playing like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Octopath Traveler. There's so many RPGs I've been playing. Is that your like a favorite genre?
Yeah, I've been playing Final Fantasy games ever since I was a kid. I don't know what I was playing before I played Final Fantasy VII. Probably just some like crappy platformers. But everybody was talking about Final Fantasy VII like back in the 90s, late 90s when it came out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'll pick it up, see what it's all about. Everything that happened after I bombed the first Mako reactor just blew my mind. I didn't know that games could tell stories like this. I didn't understand this, right? This was brand new. And so after that, I was like, oh man, what other games tell good stories? And then it was Resident Evil 2 was the next story game that I picked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. And then I moved on to like Metal Gear Solid and so on and so on and so on. So I've always liked games that could tell really good stories.
Like story-driven games, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't really been playing Metal Gear games myself, but yeah, looking at your YouTube channel, you have a lot of, like you said, very story-based games. Like Armored Core was one you actually suggested to me as well at some point. I love the new one. I haven't played the earlier versions, but apparently you have. Do they even have a story, like a compelling story? I know the newer one obviously have, but what about the first ones?
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to Armored Core, I think the best era of Armored Core was the PS2 era.
Yeah,
I did not like the PS3 games. And Armored Core 6 was great. But there are narratives in there. It's just that it asks the player to go find them themselves, right? Because it's in the mission briefings and stuff like that. And what I liked about Armored Core was tinkering with your mechs, right? And getting them tuned just right to suit a specific task. And I also liked where, it would, one company would have you attack another company, right? Yeah. And then that other company would pay you to retaliate against the people that just paid you to attack them. Yeah. So, I just liked being in situations like that. I thought it was super fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because for me, the Armored Core games, as a viewer, obviously, I haven't played the first ones. Like I said, they just look more of a mech games where you just shoot things or go to missions and finish them without having actual proper lore. But they do. But like I said, I've been looking at your YouTube channel, and you do have a consistent RPG history, but I didn't know that you were into stories that much, because you have Megaman games here as well, a lot of them, and they're not exactly known for deep lore, though, are they?
No, but the Mega Man game is just a classic jump and shoot stuff platformer. I was playing those ever since I was an itty bitty little kid, and I'm never gonna stop. That will consistently be one of my favorite series forever. I'm not too big on the Zero series. I did like 03 a lot, but the classic series has always been there. The X series has always been there. I like Legends. Legends is great. That's definitely one of my favorites. Second to the X series, though.
It's one of the games I haven't played myself. For some reason, I always thought you were into Zero games. I must have been confusing to someone else. Then there's, like you said, Legends. That's something I haven't played myself either. Was that on PlayStation 1 and 2, or just PlayStation 1?
Just PlayStation 1. There's Megaman Legends, Megaman Legends 2, and the Misadventures of Tronbone, I think.
Yeah.
But that third one's impossible to find. I think it's selling on eBay for like $400 or something ridiculous. So I'll never play it.
Yeah, the Legends have the same fate, unfortunately. They're really expensive to buy, and that's the reason why I haven't touched them, unless I just end up using emulator. But that's probably something I would never touch or rarely do. I was also looking at your earliest videos, and you seem to start with let me hear it from you. What was the first content creation stuff you did on YouTube? I don't know if you even started from YouTube. Maybe it was Twitch or a live streaming site, but as far as I can tell, it was a Battlefield.
Yeah, I think the first thing I ever streamed was probably Battlefield 4. I had probably just got my PS4, and I was like, oh, I can stream this now. And I love Battlefield. I still like Battlefield, but 2042 was kind of a bust. But I did put 1,000 hours in Battlefield 4. I really like that game. Lot.
And also on console, so you've always been a console player then instead of PC?
Well, I was back then because I couldn't afford to build a PC that could run the games I like to play, but now I can, and that's my main platform now, and has been for a few years.
Like in general, do you even have retro consoles still?
Yeah, here I have one of those. I forget which company made it, but it's one of those consoles that takes NES, Super NES, and Genesis cartridges. I have one of those.
I
have
multi-console one.
Yeah, I have I have an Evercade Versus, which I really like, and I have a PS2. Oh, and my Vita that I've hacked to pieces. I love my Vita. It plays everything. I've got, I don't know, a few thousand retro games on there, and I've been doing some preservation activities because I also have a PS TV. So I buy Vita games and I put them in my PS TV, and it's hacked too. So I get into that, launch the games to generate licenses for it, and then dump the cartridges so I can save them forever.
That's a great idea. Also leads to the question that you do have engineering background as well. Do you utilize that a lot when it comes to retro gaming?
I don't know. Maybe I am a cybersecurity engineer by trade, so
Yeah.
every now and then I'll have like a drive-by request for, hey, can you make me an all-button arcade controller for fighting games? I'm like, sure, I got you. Or I think I've made you an input displayer. Hopefully that's still working okay.
It's working and I'm using it all the time. So yeah, thank you for that. It's been not only a useful thing on my streams, but it's been a great helpful thing on my speedrun career as well. Obviously, when I watch my own VODs, I'm paying close attention to my inputs as well and what I'm doing. So that's something you could honestly sell to anyone, to be honest. Retro people loves input displayers, and even though, as you said, it was a prototype model, or like the casing was a prototype model, I guess what you gave to me, it was still fully functional working. So has that something that has occurred to you that you will start a small business, like a side business maybe?
I mean, I'm happy to make stuff for anybody that needs it. But yeah, it's a worldwide. It's a pretty small community, so I don't know if I could ever like build up some stock and start a web store or anything like that. But I'm willing to try it. If there's enough requests for it, then it'll happen for sure.
You would be surprised. Like you said, it's a small community, but man, retro stuff is the thing right now. Especially controllers. Like, even if you don't really know how to make, let's say, NES controllers, you just swap the front and the back to some random decals. Just paint it pretty, and people will buy it, and they can ask over $100 of it easily. And that's not even going to be a limit. You can just crank up the price, and people will still pay for it. All sorts of retro stuff sells these days.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's an RPG mod for your console or whatever, but it's a big business these days, and hell, an input display or something people are constantly requesting. So maybe that's something you might want to do in the future if you just feel like it.
Well, I do have plans to make an upscaler. I just haven't got around to it yet. I can build one based off. There's like a little arcade display board it's like $20. It's made to repair old arcade machines with a few jumper wires, a little soldering, and adding bigger capacitors here and there. I can make something real special with that. It won't be 4K because this board will never be able to do that much output, but real nice 1080p, 60 hertz, no problem.
Yeah, upscaler would be amazing. Like seeing, we have a couple of options these days. We have OSSC and then we have RetroTink. And the new RetroTink is obviously very expensive. I don't know. If you're a real retro fan, then maybe you want to spend that money. But there's another thing you could definitely do. Like if you ever feel like completing a full upscaler, just have a competitive price between the OSSC and the RetroTink, and you will be in the market in no time. Like seriously, that's something you might want to consider as well, along input displayers. But people love upscalers; they're so easy and convenient for all the retro consoles these days.
Oh yeah, I for my PS2, because I had like a cable that would go from the PS2 to HDMI. But, I put a PS1 game in and it wouldn't display because I think PS1 is 320p or something like that. And that signal isn't strong enough for an HDMI port to pick up or an HDMI cable to even carry. So I really had to do some head scratching and find something that could support PS2 and PS1 games coming out of my PS2 into an HDMI port, and I think Hyperkin made a cable for it. So I got theirs, and it was really nice.
Okay. So yeah, that could be something you could test around and maybe do in the future. Well, that aside, I noticed that you have plenty of these full playthroughs on your YouTube channel, like we just mentioned. All sorts of different RPGs, even FPS games. When you're playing a game, are you the kind of type that actually just forces yourself to finish the game no matter what? Or like, it seems to me that you are. Like, you can't stop playing a game once you start it. Are you the kind of person?
I'd say generally yes, unless there's like just something obscenely broken with it, or it's just not fun. even some games that are just a little annoying, I can still push through. I'm pretty picky about what I decide to complete and whatnot. Like if I'm going for 100% of the achievements, I have to love the game because that
Right.
is, for some of these titles, that is quite the task.
Yeah, that is indeed true. Also, the main subject of this entire podcast right now, what you just said, the achievements. You, to me, is the guy who always, when I talk to you, when I see you on my streams, you're always the achievement hunter. I used to be like that myself when I played a lot of single player games, and I always wanted to see what was the most difficult achievement to get in a game. And obviously, if I love the game, like you said, then I would spend hours just to get one achievement. Even though they're just funny little things to display on your profile, no one really cares about them except we, as players, individuals. We care about them. So, what made you this way, Ravenous, to start hunting achievements in games?
I'm not sure how this started. Because when I think back to older games I played as a kid, like we can go back to the X series. I wanted all the things in the game, right? I wanted all the armor. I wanted the Zero Buster before Zero gave it to me. And as soon as I found out
Yeah.
that was possible, I went through the hassle to figure out how to climb up there and get it. And
Mm-hmm.
when you watch speedrunners, everyone knows that they're going to get it in the 100% category. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're like a 10-year-old kid in the 90s with no access to the internet, when you find these things, or you see something that's out of place, you're like, I wonder what's in there. And then
Right.
you go in there and it's like magic, right? You're like, oh man, I used to only get this at the end of the game. Now I can have it now? That's great. Just stuff like that. Just checking all the corners and nooks and crannies and seeing what's possible
Yeah.
and where you can go and what breaks what. That's what's always fascinated me about games.
Okay. Fair assumption. I assume speedrunning has nothing to do with your achievement hunting, right?
No, but I do enjoy speedrunning when I actually sit down to do it. Because it's a lot of the same thing. Most of my growing up and playing games as a kid, I was checking all the corners and the nooks and crannies, and
Yeah.
speedrunners do the same thing, just to an extreme, like getting doing the iceless jump in Megaman X, right? Kid me would
Yeah.
have never even thought of that. But speedrunner brain was like, this has to be possible. I will figure it out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, speedrunners have helped casual players as well when it comes to, like you said, collecting items and or getting into a place where you're not supposed to get just yet. Especially Metrovania games, speedrunner seems to break them all the
Oh
time.
yeah, sequence breaking is really fun to watch. I do like that.
Yeah, happens all the time in a long game, especially. And then when someone finds out a skip that saves like an hour in an entire run, that's the holy grail of speedrunning right there.
Mm-hmm. I think of like the calm skip in Final Fantasy VII. That was a huge deal. That cut like
Oh yeah,
40 minutes off the game.
and I think it just happened a few months ago. They found out in original Final Fantasy VII, they found out that you can actually allow Aerith to stay alive as well throughout the entire playthrough.
No kidding. Well, there's an
Yep.
achievement in the Steam version of the original Final Fantasy VII, where you have to get Aerith to level 99. And, that is an achievement that I do not like. Because you know what happens, right? And you know when it happens. And so you
Hmm.
have to go find some obscure location and just grind and grind and grind and grind until she gets to 99. So I haven't done that one yet. But with this skip available, or this glitch, it might be possible. It just depends on how hard it is to learn how to do it.
Yeah, that reminds me of some streamer on Twitch just last year, like summer last year, I think. He was streaming Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII, and his goal was to grind all his characters 99 uh, at the starting location of the game. That was achievement he tried to achieve.
Oh yeah, I did remember hearing that story, which was just absolutely silly. Would it take like years or months?
Yeah, that takes so much time. I don't know what pushed him to go for such an achievement, but that's that's probably mind numbing a bit to grind something that will take forever.
I couldn't even imagine.
Do you enjoy grinding in games, by the way?
Yeah, like other things, it depends. Generally, yes. Especially in like the Final Fantasy games. Taking on a lot of extra battles at the beginning does serve to make your life easier later on.
Yeah, man. There's a Final Fantasy 7 is once again a great example of just grinding just to defeat the weapons. For example, Ruby weapon was something I grinded the hell back and forth to get my characters to proper level to defeat Ruby, and eventually I did. I think Emerald actually gave me a lot more trouble than Ruby did, but that was a game I remember just grinding non-stop just to get my levels. And not the same thing in Final Fantasy 8, by the way, where everything scales according to your own level.
I know.
So that's a different story altogether.
That's why I didn't like Final Fantasy 8, because there's no reward for hanging out and doing extra things and looking around more, because at the end of the day it didn't matter. Everything was just as strong as you were.
Yeah, the only exception was the hidden island where everything was high level no matter what your level was. But yeah, that game had a kind of strange leveling system. Tell me what achievement took you the longest to achieve, if you can remember any of those.
Oh yeah, so Exoprimal, I did 100% that game. I got all the achievements, and the Cretaceous Eradicator, which is kill 100,000 dinosaurs. I think took me about 120 hours.
And how many dinosaurs is in one playthrough?
Well,
or is that included?
I'm not sure how many dinosaurs you end up killing in a single game, but I know I played a lot of games of Exoprimal to get that 100,000 dinosaur kill.
Yeah.
Only 1.7% of players have it. I mean, on Steam, Exoprimal wasn't a very popular game, even though I liked it. I had a lot of fun playing it. And there was some story, but yeah, that one was a tough one. And there's some I'm grinding out in Grid Legends, because lately I've had a fondness for racing games. And in Grid Legends, they give you sponsors, and you take on these sponsors and you complete their objectives, and it like unlocks cars and additional career mode stuff. Getting all of those sponsor objectives done has been very time consuming. I'm 200 hours into Grid Legends, and I'm still not done yet. There's still sponsor objectives to complete.
So crazy achievements.
Yeah.
Any other that you can remember that has taken you like a really long time to achieve?
Well, I'm still working on Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, but Final Fantasy 16 requires a complete additional playthrough on the highest difficulty to get all the achievements. So,
is that something you unlock after a first playthrough?
Yeah,
the difficulty.
You do the first playthrough, and then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, we have Final Fantasy mode, which is the highest difficulty in the game, which gives you access to new weapons, new equipment, new accessories, stuff like that. And what I really like about Final Fantasy mode and Final Fantasy 16 is that they mix up the encounters and they put like in-game enemies in the early game. And they mix up the mobs and stuff. So it kind of feels like playing a totally different game.
Oh, I love when games does something different for a new game plus. It needs to be a different kind of experience, obviously. And if your gear is going to be saved, then yeah, you need some sort of a different kind of a challenge in the game. And even better if it's different instead of grinding the same thing over and over again. Dark Souls is one of the examples which I remember. I think it was Dark Souls 2 where you needed to do New Game Plus 5 just to get one spell. And obviously, to get all the spells, you get an achievement for getting all the spells.
Oh, nice.
So that was probably one of my longest achievement grinds myself. And not that I really like playing New Game Pluses in that game, because as you probably know, Dark Souls 2 doesn't really change that much when it comes to new game stuff. Some minor stuff might happen. There's a new NPC somewhere, maybe. Not in every Dark Souls games, but a couple of them do change the NPC location, or maybe a whole new NPC somewhere, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I would love a game that completely changes everything. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I do think that beating the game on Final Fantasy mode will probably be over 100 hours total, because I'm at 71.7 hours in Final Fantasy 16, and I've just scratched the surface of the New Game Plus on Final Fantasy difficulty, so I still got a ways to go there.
Do you think it's any faster early game-wise? Assuming you have the levels and everything when you start the Final Fantasy mode?
Oh, no, because the enemies start at a significantly higher level.
Okay.
If anything,
so down a bit.
at the beginning of that run through, I think I was a little weaker than all the other enemies. So
that's
it is
insane.
tough.
But you're gonna do it either way, right?
Yep.
Going to finish the game.
That's the plan.
Wow, that's quite the dedication for Final Fantasy series. And you played all of them. Have you literally played every single Final Fantasy out there, including NES first?
I did get the Pixel remaster, and I got 100% on one. I missed it by one treasure chest in Final Fantasy 2, and I did not like Final Fantasy 2. So going through that again is going to be brutal. So I'm putting that off. I did 100% Final Fantasy 3. I'm working on 4. Growing up, I did play 5 and 6, and of course I played 7. We talked about that. I didn't like 8, but if I want to 100% them all, I'm going to have to go back to it. I played 9 when it released on the PS1. I actually missed out on 10 for some reason. I never picked it up on my PS2. Don't know why, but I have it now, so I'll be getting to that eventually. 11 was an MMO, so I skipped that. I probably never will play 11. 13 was unpleasant, so I never finished it, on the PS3. 14's an MMO, and I own it, and I really, really like it, but 100%ing that game is probably just going to be impossible. We're talking about thousands of hours of playtime to do every single side quest and all of the things. So I probably won't do that, even though I really like Final Fantasy 14. 15 is really good. It's kind of weird with the whole road trip with your bros kind of gameplay, but the story was fantastic.
And then we have 16, which I see a playthrough on YouTube as well.
Yep.
How'd you like that game?
I really do like 16. I like the Final Fantasy 7 remakes. I need to go back to the first Final Fantasy 7 remake and finish up some stuff there. But I just finished Rebirth not too long ago, and I'm gonna. I went back through Chapter Select to clean up some side missions that I missed and things like that. But that one requires another playthrough on everything on hard as well.
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I skipped 12. I really like 12. It's got a great story. I got it on Steam, and I will probably 100% that, even though that's a tall order. That game is really, really tough to get some of those super bosses.
Oh, yeah. Final Fantasy and their super bosses. I don't know if any, all of the games actually have super bosses, but as far as I know, most of them do. And one of them is the one I haven't defeated myself. I think I gave up for whatever reason, was the Final Fantasy IX's super boss. I can't remember the name of it.
I think it was Ozma or something like that. The orb.
The orb, yeah. The floating orb. That's something I just gave up on.
Yeah, I have not fought it, but I've heard it's quite the handful. Super bosses kinda have been around in one way or another in Final Fantasy games. It's just in the early ones, it was through a random encounter. Like in the first one, I think there was an enemy called the Death Machine, which was a rare encounter near the end of the game. And the difficulty spike running into that is just ridiculous. That was actually a tough enemy. Like, you could be prepared for the area, and then you run into that thing and realize real quick that you were not ready for it.
Man, I love when developers add like a super hard encounter into the game. It just adds up to the value of the grind, especially if you do in a video game. All these level ups you get, and then eventually hit a brick wall when you can't actually level up at all. You have all the skills already, you have all the weapons, etc. But you still need one more challenge, and that will be the challenge to get some kind of a super boss.
Yeah, and in Final Fantasy 1 and 3, there's an achievement for completing the bestiary. So I did use a guide to help me find some of these rare monsters in random encounters. And yeah, I do remember Death Machine, but I was way over leveled. And he was still kind of a handful. So I couldn't imagine like a normal player running into that and just getting a game over after they haven't saved for like 40 or 50 minutes.
What kind of a challenge would you consider a fair challenge, though? Like you said, you were over leveled already at that point. But in Final Fantasy VII, we have Emerald and Ruby, for example. Did you ever find having difficulty with those? Have you killed them even?
Yes, I've beaten all the weapons in the original Final Fantasy VII, and what I find nice about Superbosses is that in Final Fantasy VII is that they're optional, right? Yeah. So you can just be a normal player and never ever mess with them. But I like how they're presented, because Ruby Weapon is just like a red tentacle sticking out of the ground. And I was like, oh man, what's that? So I drove into it and was immediately party wiped, right? I had no idea what that was, and I was not and didn't think I ever could be prepared.
I think you're speaking for most people when you have the curiosity to see the red thing under the sand, and then you just go in there. What is this? And then you're dead.
Yeah.
That's what happens to most people.
But what challenges like that do is it tests your mastery of the systems in the game. Because, you've beaten Ruby Weapon. I have too. And I don't know what tactics you use, but I used a specific setup that has probably been very popular. Like putting the Phoenix summon on final attack. So if you die, it casts Phoenix and that revives you.
Yeah.
So it's things like that when messing with Ruby Weapon and Emerald Weapon that the game is testing. Have you mastered the materia system? Did you invest the time into it? Do you know what enemies are weak against what? Do you know what you can do? Do you know what you can't do? And things like that.
All the mechanics and whatnot. Yeah, makes sense.
So, winning fights like that are for people that really love the game and really understand the game. So I think challenges like that are perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. Have you ever used a guide to beat any of these super bosses?
Yes.
Do you want to admit?
Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit it. Yeah, Emerald Weapon had a 10-minute time limit.
Yeah, if you didn't have the whatever materia.
Yeah, the underwater materia. So, I never could. I didn't have any problem staying alive. My problem was with the clock. So I was like, I wonder if there's anything you can do about that 10-minute clock. And, I had looked around, asked some friends that had the internet, see what they could find. And they're like, oh, yeah, you can get the underwater materia by morphing a ship and Junon submarine base. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go look for that ship and smack it with the morph materia until I get smack it with the morph attack until I get underwater materia. And then I went back and gave Emerald what for,
I have to admit that I was the one who also searched how to beat Ruby, and even though it took me a lot of time to actually defeat Ruby, but it was the start of the fight that caused me the biggest trouble with that fight. And then I found out, I don't know what site, was some Final Fantasy related site, I found out that if you have two party members already dead when you enter the fight, then Ruby will just stick the tentacle on the ground, and you have a way easier time to fight the actual boss, to have a strategy like that. And that was one of the main reasons why I was able to defeat the whole super boss in the first place. Just spamming Knights of the Round, whatever summon it was,
Yeah.
with the mimic. That was my strategy, and it worked.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I used the same one. I mean, today I've already accomplished that challenge, so today I would definitely look at guides, see if there's any new and fun strategies for dealing with the weapons of Final Fantasy VII.
And now it's time for Deep Thoughts with Ahmad.
Pippeli 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 Ahmad Boba Mankeli Bongos. Have you ever accidentally eaten banana without peeling it? I haven't, and hopefully never. Oh
God, please die. Yeah, it's such. For example, Metroidvania games. If I don't know where to go, well, usually these days the game kind of points you where to go either way. But like if there's some kind of a really difficult place to reach I haven't figured out at the end of the game, then I will probably use a guide. Otherwise, I will try to be guide free. Even today, modern days, I don't really want to look for stuff online myself. I don't want to spoil it. Let's call it like that. But if it comes to that, then yeah, I will not just bang my head against the wall. It's just forever. I will eventually look the answer if it comes to that. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII was one of the earliest ones I looked online because I just couldn't figure out how to kill the bosses. But super bosses are always fun. Also, I need to play the pixel remasters now that you mentioned them, since I also haven't played the first two games. The rest of the series I have played, except the 10X2, where you play with the girls.
Oh,
that's something I haven't played before.
Yeah, I've never done like the 10-2 or 13-2 or any of those.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't played 10 though. That's actually a really good Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, well, I'm just as surprised as you are when I was going back through my mental inventory, and I was like, man, why did I never play that? But yeah, I had a PS2, I just never played it. Don't know why.
Yeah. When you get into it, you will realize that it has probably one of the best upgrading systems in all Final Fantasy games because of the grid system.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Grid sphere.
the sphere grid quite a few times. It looks intimidating, so I think it'll be a lot of fun to go through that and figure out how it works.
It is, but it makes sense very, very fast how you operate, and well, depending on your playstyle, what you want to upgrade. But it's really fun. Obviously, there's also the infamous, whatever ball you call it, the game.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember the name, but I spent so much time playing silly side games like that, probably because of Final Fantasy VIII, which ironically is my favorite Final Fantasy game, and you don't like it, but that's okay. I think Final Fantasy VIII is one of the games people generally don't like because of the absolutely bizarre story and, well, the scaling of enemies as well. But man, you can't deny how good of a card game VIII has.
Oh yeah, Triple Triad?
Yep.
Even I like Triple Triad, so yeah.
Anyway, everyone likes Triple Triad. We don't talk about Final Fantasy IX card game though. That's a different story.
Oh yeah.
Commonly hated. Yeah, good memories. I'm glad you're still playing Final Fantasy games though. The 16 is something I've been looking on Steam every single sale. Even on right now, it's on spring sale. Same price though. It goes to sale with the same price all the time, and I'm eventually going to pull the trigger and buy the game, because right now it actually works on Steam Deck as well because of the frame scaling. Helps even Steam Deck to work properly with it, but probably not going to be a game that I actually play with Steam Deck anyway.
Well, 16 is definitely worth your time. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, I'm kind of the old school player that wants to have, the kind of turn-based combat in Final Fantasy games, which is way gone already. We can forget about that. I think it's never going to be a thing in Final Fantasy games anymore. Like, for example, FF7 Remake, FF7 Rebirth, the real-time action in the game, awesome. I love it. I never thought I would until I played myself, but it works really nicely. And I think you feel the same about that as well.
Yeah, it took me a little while to really understand that combat system with like switching your characters around and how to get their ATB gauges filled. But I eventually did find something super broken about using Cloud, Red, and Barret together. In Rebirth, while you're guarding, you can have one of your teammates help you do attacks, and it fills your and their ATB gauges at the same time. So if you have Cloud, Red, and Barret together, they don't have any of those attacks that like does a wind up and a super powerful smash or anything like that. They all have like 3-button combo attacks. But if you finish the combo, it's slow. But if you just hold your guard and then attack twice with one and attack twice with the other, you can just chain together a ridiculous amount of attacks really, really fast. As long as you don't finish the 3-hit combo, just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you can build up their ATB gauges really, really fast. And so that's what I started doing. I can send you a clip of it. It's super silly, but I was exploiting that quite a lot.
Does actually work on both games?
I don't
Remake and Rebirth.
I don't know if it works in Remake, but it definitely works in Rebirth.
Okay, I have to check that out. It's actually one of the games I've been playing on YouTube. It's already been like 4 or 5 months since the last episode, but whatever. Eventually, I will get back to it, to the game. I've been playing enjoying the playthrough quite a lot. It's been a fun game to play. Did those games have had any achievements? Obviously, the one you just mentioned, but something you've been grinding right now. Especially in the remake. Let's forget about Rebirth since you're playing it already, and I'm sure you already played the remake. Was there some kind of achievement you just took forever to get?
Well, I haven't got 100% in that game yet, but
not yet, okay.
I'll have to look through them all to figure out which ones are going to be really difficult. But the second playthrough is always going to be one of the toughest ones to get, just from the time investment.
Yeah, they're long games.
Yeah.
Especially RPGs, they take forever to complete, and then there's achievement that kind of tediously is placed there that you have to play the game over and over again, or at least twice. And if you really enjoy the game, then hell yeah, you're going to play it again. But I guess personally, I wouldn't invest my time anymore unless I really enjoyed it, like really loved the game and I want to experience it again. But movies are a different thing. I could watch them over and over again. But man, just playing a long RPG like that is definitely quite the chore. It's kind of ironic coming from a speedrunner who just resets all the time and plays the same game over and over again. But that's how a speedrunner mind apparently works.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. One of my favorite achievement sets that requires multiple playthroughs was Triangle Strategy. That is hands down one of my favorite sets. I wish I could delete them all and do it again. Triangle Strategy has 4 different endings. One of them is a secret, though, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But in order to get there, each path that you go down in Triangle Strategy helps you gather, units and more characters to use. And in the 4th ending, the secret ending, right? You need everything. So you have to play through it 4 times to get everything. 4 times? Yeah. You have to beat the entire game 4 times. It is just a great set because the new game plus isn't really that bad, and there's like a whole, oh man, I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. It's, you have these 3 hidden stats. I forget what they're called. I'm digging through my achievements now. There's these 3 hidden stats. In the New Game Plus, you can see those hidden stats and what actions affect them or not. Those stats are how you recruit some of the more obscure characters.
Right.
So in the additional playthroughs, you can see all of that stuff. So it kind of helps you pin down the last few characters that you need for the end of the game.
Yeah.
It's all related to like the conviction system. I think that's what they call it. That achievement set was great. It has your normal progression ones like, play the game, get this ending, play the game, get that ending. And it has, I think the secret ending is the enthusiast, achievement and recruiting all the units, because you have to do all of the other endings to get all of them.
Yeah.
But it rewards you for playing the game well. And a lot of the systems in the game are designed to make you a better player. Because if you attack certain enemies in certain ways, other characters will do follow-up attacks. So, there's achievements related to that, and it makes the battles easier. So it's probably one of the only, tactical RPGs that I've ever played that teaches you how to get better at the game and then rewards you for playing like that.
Right.
And, in a lot of tactical RPGs, when somebody dies, you permanently lose them forever. But Triangle Strategy isn't like that, which is also really, really nice. Because in games like Final Fantasy Tactics, if one of my characters died, I would just reload the game and try again. I get really attached to all of my little soldiers.
Man, I was just thinking about playing a game just to get a different ending. Like, that's dedication by itself. So kudos to you if you've ever done it with anything. Basically, that's quite something.
Well, if you know the game really well and you just want to run through it again, you can skip a lot of the dialogue because there's a lot.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I think I could sit down and play a playthrough with the secret ending in probably less than 3 hours.
Like, I was just watching a friend of mine playing the new Silent Hill remake, Silent Hill 2 remake, and obviously there's so many different endings in that game, and they want to just achieve most of them by playing the game again. That will take a lot of time as well, because you have to do different things in the actual game every playthrough to achieve those certain endings. Like the dog ending was something I remember.
Yeah.
There's so many different ones, but personally, the only game series where I wanted to see different ending was Mass Effect, and Mass Effect 3, most particularly, because obviously it had the silly color choices at the end, and you had to pick from those, and I wanted to see all of them, so I just kept playing it. Thankfully, from a save file, not over and over again. Just wanted to see the ending, which thankfully is a choice.
Oh yeah, that's what I did too.
If you like story-based games and never played Mass Effect games, that's probably the best sci-fi game you can probably find.
Yeah, I'd agree. I played through all 3 of them, and it goes on sale pretty often. I think you can get the Legendary Collection for less than $10 if you're patient enough.
Yeah, definitely worth it. I would not recommend Andromeda though. That was it took me 8 years to finish the game, and I'm not even lying. It was a struggle every time I tried to open the game and play. It was just not great. The battle systems were okay in Andromeda, but man, it's just lack of imagination. You go into another galaxy, and that's what you get. I'm sorry, but I was disappointed.
Right. Oh, another fun set was Vampire Survivors, just because it's wacky and silly. The whole game is just silly. It's 220 achievements, quite a lot. But I enjoyed that one a lot as well.
That's a lot of achievements.
Yeah.
What?
220. Really? Got them all.
Oh my god. I assume a lot of them were at least easy, right?
Yeah. But, what's nice about that set is it centers with unlocking more features of the game, which a lot of players probably haven't done. because there's like secret levels and secret places you can go and secret things that you have to do, and there's like a whole menu of secret codes you have to type in to get things. And what's fun about some of them is that they're so obscure that you do have to go searching for the answer. And apparently the developers of the game had intended it to be that way, right? They were like, well, you'll never figure this out on your own. You'll have to go find some obscure Reddit thread. And that's how I found some of these, because I'm like, what does this mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of those were super fun because it encourages you to explore the game, try to break it, and then go find other players that have figured things out. Because you might not be able to figure it out on your own with just the stuff that you see in the game. There's a lot of callbacks to other games that like the developers really liked. I think like one hidden area in a level is supposed to be like a little town in a Pokemon game, and so on and so on and so on. There's tons of crazy things in that game.
Kind of remind me of Metroid Dread. Obviously, Switch didn't have any achievements, or at least Metroid Dread didn't have any achievements, but there was some places which I looked like, whoa, there's some kind of item up there. I wonder if I can get to it. And I used completely different mechanic and play style or an upgrade, which you need to get up there in the first place. And I still managed to pull it off. And I got the item, and the game told me that you found an item which you haven't discovered yet. That's the only thing the dialogue that the game gave me when I collected the item. It was the power bombs, obviously, but since I didn't have the actual power bomb upgrade, I couldn't use them. I didn't know what they were, but the game actually told me that you have found something that you basically should not be able to get yet.
Nice.
What do you think is the hardest achievement you have ever done? Obviously, I just asked the longest, but hardest. I can give you some time to think by giving you my own.
Oh, well, I don't think I need too much time to think about it, but I'd love to hear yours, because I got mine in my head.
Okay. I have two, which I guess the first one is not that interesting, but I played DuckTales Remaster, and I wanted to get the Smarter Than the Smarties achievement, which is beat the game on extreme difficulty. And extreme difficulty in that game means that you have to play the game without dying, or using a continue, I think. You still have some lives at least. Which doesn't seem that impressive, but especially the last level in the remaster where you had the escape with little narrow windows to actually achieve to get on those platforms. That was probably one of the hardest things I've done in a while. In one sitting, of course. There was no reason to quit the game and continue, because you couldn't. You had to beat the game on one sitting. So that was one of them. And then I remember playing Day of Defeat Source, this FPS multiplayer game. You probably know it. There was one achievement called Jack of All Trades. Usually you pick a class in the game. It's the sniper, machine gunner, etc. But this achievement means that you have to get a kill using a machine gun, sniper rifle, a normal rifle, submachine gun, and a grenade. All those in one life before you spawn again. And since you obviously pick a class in the game, like your sniper rifle, you don't have any other weapons around you. You have to pick them up from other players when they die around you. You have to pick them up from the ground. So getting all those kills in one life, in one round in the game, against random people. Obviously, you can do this against, some friends or whatever. Just make a call on Discord and pretend that you get all those kills one by one. But doing that on a public server against randoms was probably the most difficult thing I've ever done. But somehow I achieved that. I'm proudly showing it off on my Steam profile as well. So that was mine. Let it go, Ravenous. What is your hardest by far?
Final Fantasy 15 has an optional dungeon called the Piteous Ruins to get the Black Hood. That is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. Because the Piteous Ruins is a dungeon that's a puzzle. There's like no combat at all. And, there's like some crazy platforming sections. There's other sections that are timed because they're covered in spikes and moving walls. And navigating the place is just a mystery all on its own. I wish I could remember what the name of that achievement is. I do have it because someone asked me if I did. I was like, oh yeah, I've done that. And it was a nightmare. But that was definitely very, very tough. Probably one of the toughest things I've ever done in a Final Fantasy game.
But you did it. That's all that matters.
I did do it. The Black Hood is an accessory that you can equip that automatically dodges attacks for you.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't tried it out yet in a tough fight, so I don't know how effective it is, but I hear it's pretty good. And they hid it behind some really horrible, horrible dungeon. So it must be worth something, right?
I better hope so. I feel like that's a good point. Like, if you're doing an achievement, you're doing a super boss or whatever, a difficult thing, the reward has to be good. I feel like that's going to just disappoint a player completely if you get something, a crappy cosmetic or... I don't know why this game is coming to my mind right now, but I played Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one, not the DLC or the second game. But in the first one, the game is absolutely gorgeous. I love the graphical representation of the game. I love the fighting the robot dinosaurs. That the world was interesting, but man, the side quests were so boring. I finished the game 100%. I actually collected every single thing in the game, including everything in the map. I didn't feel accomplished at all when I finished all the side quests because you got some cosmetic crap out of it. I didn't care about that at all. I wanted something... Some of the side quests were awesome, like in the sense of you did a lot of work and I feel like I should be getting something good out of it. But no, you got some crap out of it. But there was one little thing, which was probably the longest grind in the game. You had to find these some pieces to this very futuristic mechanical device, and in that device you actually gained like a stealth armor for yourself, and that was like the first thing. Like, wow, I'm glad I spent this time, even though I've been spending a lot of time with other things in the game. But this was one of the things where I got was just, it felt rewarding. It felt like my time was well spent. And I got something good out of it. Thank you, game, for giving me at least one good thing. But man, it just needed more of those things, more of those rewarding elements in the game. That's what I feel like a lot of these games are missing these days as well. When you do a lot of work and then you just you get nothing out of it. I would give you a real couple of hour lesson of a game that doesn't give you anything when you just do missions and side quests, but. That's modern gaming and modern developing, apparently. Not every single game, but there's I remember Sea of Stars, especially from the new games I played. It actually had pretty awesome secrets at the end and rewards. I'm sure you played the game. I saw a playthrough on your channel, so you probably played it. But did you 100% it?
I haven't finished it yet, but I need to go back to it. I forget what interrupted all of that. I think there was a game release that threw a wrench into me finishing that. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do need to go back and finish Sea of Stars.
Absolutely.
I'm at the part of the game where I just crossed the Sea of Stars, and they have that big reveal that this one character is not human.
Yep.
That's where I am.
Okay. That's when things get interesting. But believe me, collect everything you can. It's worth it.
Oh, I will.
There's a huge reveal and something you would never expect, but the game reward is 100% worth it. That leads to another question. Which of these achievements are you mostly proud of? Because, like myself, I show them on my Steam profile. I don't have all of the things I'm proud of, just the first two. But is there something you remember all the time, like I achieved this, I achieved that, and you haven't necessarily got it, but I have. I'm proud of it.
Yeah. Audica is a VR game where you shoot targets with guns. It's a music rhythm game, right?
Yeah.
I really, really like Audica a lot, and I was trying to 100% that. I don't think I'm going to make it, because some of the achievements are incredibly difficult and require, obscene amounts of dedication that I just might not have. But the Laser Priest Expert achievement is probably the one I'm most proud of, because it's 5-star all main songs on expert difficulty.
Damn.
And that was very, very hard. Some of them that I probably can't do is Gold Star all songs on expert. Some of them are just incredibly hard. And to Gold Star a song, I think you have to get 90% of the points in the song, not 90% of the targets, 90% of the points. So not only do you have to hit everything and not miss, but your shooting has to be incredibly accurate. And
I would never be able to do that.
some things are just moving so fast that I have not been able to get a gold star on a lot of the songs.
That would take a lot of practice. You think you would be able to do it though? Given the time?
If I had the time, probably. I was actually in a esports competition in Audica.
Really?
Yeah, I was in the... it's called Rhythm League. You can actually find the stream on Twitch somewhere. But I ended up in like a runners-up slot, right? Mm-hmm. So they showed our runs at the end. And I have no idea how I ended up with this crowd, because the other players are people I knew from the top of the leaderboards. And I could get into the top 10, but these are like the top 3. And even though I am a top 1% player, right, the talent and ability of these people that were in the main show leaps and bounds beyond me. These people were incredibly fast and accurate. Way faster and accurate than I'll probably ever be. So I don't know how I ended up in the same group with these people. When I saw their playthroughs, I'm like, why am I here? This is insane. I'll never, ever be this good.
I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, though, seeing that you have also been speedrunning and doing all these tricks. So, like you said, you probably don't have a lot of time, but given if you would have the time, speedrunning is just learning. Same with rhythm. I think you can just learn and get better and better in everything. That's the same thing. So I think you're not giving yourself enough credit that if you're with them on this same thing at the same time, then you have obviously accomplished something already. So don't pull yourself down. I think that's a great achievement by itself.
Well, I am proud of the things that I've achieved, but man, to share a stage with that crowd is just crazy. I cannot believe that we ended up in the same category.
But you did, see? Point made. I wrote such a long list of questions for you, but I think...
keep them coming. We can do quickfire if we need to.
No. I was just thinking about a couple of other questions, but I think you covered it already because of our Final Fantasy discussion there, which are great games, by the way. Everyone should play them at least once. What other category games are you playing right now? I know RPGs are especially close to your heart, but is there anything else you're just constantly coming back to play?
Well, from my recent list, I have been playing a lot of racing games lately. I even got myself a shifter and pedals and a steering wheel.
Okay. Nice.
I don't know why, but just shaving 1/10 of a second off a lap every lap is super fun. So mastering a course and your car and getting it set up to where it feels like it's riding on rails, it kind of scratches that same itch that messing with my mech and armored core does, right?
Yeah. Just
tinkering with all of my parts and seeing if I can perform better than I did last time. Lots of racing. So Forza Motorsport is the one I've been playing a lot lately. I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds right now. I've tried a lot of the other Monster Hunter entries in the past, and nothing has really clicked. But Wilds came out. I bought a new GPU and it came with it, and I was like, I really want to try this again, right? I'm trying to find out where the magic is in Monster Hunter, because lots of people like those games. And I finally got it in Monster Hunter Wild. So I like it enough that I might try to 100% it if they don't have anything insane in there. Because things that require you to do specific activities in multiplayer only stuff are achievements I do not like. Because games that have multiplayer achievements, if you pick them up way past their active dates, are impossible to 100%. If I really like the new Doom games, the 2016 and Eternal, but come on, man, no one's playing those online. Even the people that play them online probably don't have anyone to play it with. So those games require you to do stuff in online games. So I'll probably never get to complete those.
Hell, you were playing Quake 3 as well, as far as I saw a clip on.
Oh yeah.
As well.
Me and some of my friends got it modded up and functional, and so we occasionally hop in there and shoot each other. So I have been enjoying Monster Hunter Wilds. Tekken 8 I did complete. I got all the achievements in that. That's been a good time.
Nice.
And there's some obscure games I've been working on to see if they will be fun to complete. Victory Heat Rally is kind of a Mario Kart-esque pixel art game. That's super fun.
Yeah.
Have you played it?
I can't recall that I have. I have played Mario Kart though, but no, not that game.
Oh, okay. Well, Victory Heat Rally is pretty cool. Oh man, what else? Speed Crew is really neat. Think Overcooked, but you're a pit crew at a racetrack. It's the same idea. So if you like Overcooked, Speed Crew is probably pretty good. That one is definitely going to end up on the 100% list, because I'm pretty close as is. There's a few weird ones like put out 20 fires in a single game, or something like that.
So safe to say that you have been playing a lot of different genre games. If there's a racing games, there's a fighting game, kind of a goofy racing game. Like it seems like you have games for days when it comes to genres here. Do you like fighting games though?
No, I hate fighting games.
That's what I thought. I remember you saying that you don't like fighting games, but you achieving Tekken, like all the achievements, right?
Yeah, I got
Tekken 8?
all the achievements in Tekken 8. I don't know what it is about Tekken 8, but I got a friend that loves fighting games. Always tries to drag me into them. Dragged me into Street Fighter 6, and I like that because it had like the baby control mode where, with one button combos and stuff. So I had a lot of fun there. And then he's like, hey, I just bought Tekken 8. You want to try it out? And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? So I waited for it to go on sale, and I picked it up. What you got to understand about this guy is he's the nicest human on the planet. And he always plays all of our weird games that we want to play. So, when he wants to play something, which never happens, he's like one of those guys that are like, we'll do whatever. We'll do whatever you want. I don't care. So when he says, I want to play this with you, I'm in, right? Because he plays all the dumb crap I want to play. So I picked up Tekken 8, and I was playing it with a controller, and it was magic. I don't know what it is that I liked about it, but it just really clicked for me. So I even bought an arcade stick to go with it, and it made it even more fun.
Damn.
So
quite the dedication.
I really, really like Tekken 8. I think it's, for a guy that hates fighting games, this is probably the best one I've ever played in my life. And I don't use the baby control mode either.
Yeah.
I use the normal controls.
That's kind of cool that you have a friend that kind of lured you in, even though you didn't even like the idea, but now you do. At least one game. So that was nice for you to join and play something they wanted as well. Good for you, Ravenous. I agree that this behavior, 100%. Good job. I remember playing fighting games back in the day. I was crazy about Mortal Kombat and One Must Fall, and there were so many crazy titles when it comes to fighting games. All these bizarre SNES fighting games as well. not so much these days. However, never got really into fighting games that much after I grew up, except beat 'em ups. I feel like those are fun though, even today.
Yeah, I love beat 'em ups. One of my favorites is Fight and Rage.
Oh, I have seen that and all these TMNTs and whatnot. There's been a lot of fun new-ish and new fighting beat 'em up games. I like them.
Going back to what you said earlier about the Switch not having achievements, I think that was a huge miss for them. Because I see, like, some of my favorite achievement sets are things that encourage you to explore the game and play with features that most people don't play with, and do things that are in the game but are never required for you to do. I mean, who knows what Nintendo has hidden in a game like that. There's one Paper Mario that I've been playing through on the Switch. Who knows what secrets are in there? I haven't beat it yet, but and who knows what I'll never find because I don't have a hidden achievement to make me scratch my head and dig around a little more,
Yeah. Well, kind of dodging the achievement subject here, but it's kind of funny how people have been finding some really secretive or not even meant to be found stuff from Nintendo games or games in general, which dates to 20 years plus. And only now they have discovered that, hey, there's some kind of a room here you can actually enter, and there's this thing they added, whether it's like a memorial or whatever to some developer or a pet. So that's another thing that is not necessarily achievement. Well, not in the sense of getting achievement, but for some people who breaks the games and just wants to see outside of the boundaries, and they end up finding something like that. That's like a personal achievement by itself, finding secret stuff like that.
Well, back in the day in like the NES games and even Atari games before that, there were no credits. And, like even if you beat Mega Man X8, not X8, but Mega Man X, what do you see at the end of the game? It just goes through a list of all of the enemies that you encountered and things you've beaten, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of developers of those games never had any formal recognition. And anybody that put credits together had to do like research and, call the company on the phone and ask who worked on stuff. So a lot of developers would hide stuff like that in games so that people would know that they worked on it, because there's no other way to find out.
I remember this era of Doom with all these same engine games coming out. Like they utilized the secret stuff a lot. We can just take Doom as example. Doom 2 with a Wolfenstein level. You probably remember that. That was a great example of a secret level. Obviously everyone knew that back then, but similar stuff have been found, like some single room of like a dead co-worker or whatever. That's pretty cool stuff to find in older games. Man, that could be a topic to go for hours, to be honest. Old games have been and will be broken one way or another because of speedrunners and other gaming enthusiasts. We could also speak for hours to end about achievements, but let's say that you, Ravenous, are developing a game right now, and you would have the responsibility to design an achievement to your game. That is very much a doable achievement, but extremely difficult to achieve one way or another. Now, what kind of a thing that would be? Would it be something easy that would just take a lot of grinding? Or perhaps something tedious, like let's say you're playing a Monster Hunter game and you need to destroy like a specific crystal on some dragon's body to achieve it. Tell me, what kind of achievement you would add into a game that is indeed a lot of work for a player to get, or at least difficult to get, if not time consuming?
Well, I would probably create something that proves that you have mastered the specific systems in the game. Like if we go back to Final Fantasy VII, I'd probably put something together where you need a specific materia combination that has a specific outcome.
Yeah.
To show me that you've mastered how the materia system works and how it functions. Stuff like that. That's really what I want to see from players is I made this system. Prove to me that you mastered it and you understand it, even at the deepest level. Right? So I don't think it would be difficult. It would require a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, and a lot of theory to put this certain pieces together in the right order to get a specific outcome.
That is really awesome perspective. I never thought about it like that myself, but let's pick a game like Pokemon series, like adult playing it these days as well. 90% people have never mastered the Pokemon games and the fighting system. We just know that there's weaknesses and we exploit that system. And that's it. Even though the mechanics of Pokemon games are actually really deep. Like there's so much to know about them. All the stats and how things work against one another, etc. Like we could use that same system to your idea right there. Like test the actual player to see what kind of understanding they have of the mechanics of the game they're playing. Even in a Pokemon game, that could be done. And I bet most kids who just plays the game without actually thinking about how to play the game, how the mechanics work, they would never get it. They would actually never get that achievement. Ever. Only the real grinders, the real Pokemon fans who have played the game and who have mastered the mechanics, the weaknesses, the stats, whatever comes to Pokemon grinding, they would get it one way or another. It's kind of ridiculous to even think about a game that's in quote unquote simple, which is definitely not. Even I used to think that Pokemon is simple, but man, I'm looking at some of these Pokemon tournaments out there on Twitch or YouTube, whatever, and there goes so much details into it. It's actually insane. It's insane what people have to think in a game that's supposed to be for kids. Technically, it isn't, but it's for both. Let's be honest. Mechanics that are complicated.
I think about like Final Fantasy 16 has an achievement where you have to get 200% stagger damage on an enemy. Well, you need a specific accessory to do that, and after you stagger an enemy, you need to perform quite a number of attacks to get the stagger damage that high. And so, that requires you doing things to get the accessory and then putting the right abilities on Clive to be able to rack up that much damage in such a short amount of time, or that much stagger bonus. Mm-hmm. So that's an achievement that I think of. Or, in Megaman Legends, getting the Shining Laser Special Weapon.
Yeah.
The only way to get that is by fully exploring every single dungeon in the game. Even some like obscure areas, because there's some of the dungeons are all connected together, but you need specific weapons and parts to break walls to get into these like weird in-between areas that are in between some of the dungeons. And that's where you can find some other parts of the Shining Laser Special Weapon.
Reminds me of achievements that could be dodged in a playthrough, which I'm not a huge fan of. Like when you play a game, you might have an option to go left or right. You pick the left and then you get the left achievement instead of the right one. That's the kind of thing I don't really enjoy in achievement hunting, because that literally forces you to play the game again, unless there's some kind of a save point, and then you can just repeat the same save and go the right option instead. But either way, I feel like if you're doing achievement, it should be able to be done at the end of the game when you're approaching that. I do like the fact that developers these days, they give you a warning when you're approaching the end game. It says something like, past this point, you can't go back, or you can teleport back to your previous nodes or whatever. I kind of like that fact, that the games are meant to actually speak to the player that you have reached a point of no return, basically. I like that. And that goes hand in hand with achievements as well.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has something like that. When you're getting to the end of the game, you go to a specific place and you talk to Sid, and it's like, hey, if there's anything you need to do, you should go do it now, because after this, you're stuck for quite a while. And they were not kidding. It was quite a while.
It took a few hours, I guess.
Oh, man. The end of Rebirth is just brutal. It is a boss rush that took me like 3 or so hours to get through. It was really tough.
I really want to get that game, but I first have to finish the remake, which, to be fair, I'm still in an early game. I played like a 5-6 hours maybe. I don't even know, but it's a game I need to force myself to play just to get into it. But nothing to complain about, to be honest. It's it's just a really awesome game, and I assume Rebirth is pretty much the same with chocobos.
I did like Rebirth, but I got problems with it. I have beef with Rebirth. Some of the areas are a real pain in the ass to navigate. Like Gungaga, when you go there, there's like these mushrooms where you can hop around to get to certain cliffs and stuff. And this is no spoilers or anything, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And you don't know where these mushrooms are going to bounce you to. You have no idea. So you're like, okay, I'm trying to get there. There's a mushroom here. I'll jump on that and see where I land. And I just did not like the whole Gungaga area because of that. It was awful.
I assume that game is less linear than the first one.
Oh, yeah. It's very, very open world, wander around, do whatever you like kind of game.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Remember the original Final Fantasy VII, since we were just out of Midgar, right? And then Rebirth is kind of like outside of it.
Yeah, Rebirth is like Disc 2 from the original game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, really, really enjoying Final Fantasy game, and I have to get back to them, but man, you just made me want to play the Pixel remasters. I think they're on Switch as well.
They are. They're great.
Are they on Steam?
They are.
Man, that's something I should probably consider playing through at some point. Since I have played, like I said, from 3, but I never played 1 and 2. Those 2 games kind of missed my brain completely at some point. Eventually, that will be a thing I need to finish. But first, the FF7 remake. Not for achievements, unfortunately. I think my achievement days are over, but we have people like Ravenous right here who does the achievements for us, in case you don't want to. Okay, I don't think I have further questions about this subject or in general. I'm glad you spent this time with me, Ravenous, to have a little different perspective of gaming, because I don't think a lot of people have been thinking about achievements. They kind of pop, you get a pop-up every now and then that you achieved this, you killed a boss, etc. But I want to kind of know in the comments, if you want to add a comment, please do tell me if you are the kind of, let's call monster hunter, achievement hunter, what Ravenous is. I lost that way of life some decade ago, but I'm sure there's still plenty of people who wants to overcome their gaming habits, or what do you call it, challenges rather, and have a little reminder that you actually achieved it in games. Thank you, Ravenous. Any last words? I will give you the stage again, like with all my guests. Go away. Go away. Don't go away yet. Yeah. Where can people find you? What are you currently working on, and social medias, etc.? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you can find me on YouTube, but it's pretty boring over there because I just dump all of my Twitch stuff over there. But I'm on YouTube, Twitch, and you can see my Steam profile. It's public, and it's just Ravenousld3341. Oh, I also have a Retroachievements profile, because ever since I learned about Retroachievements, I always had a thought in my head of, what would it be like if there were achievements in the games I played as a kid? And Retroachievements gives me that. So I also am pretty active there as well.
That's a great idea. Someday I will do the same thing. Are they like pre-made there? The achievements?
The community in the Retro Achievements community makes the achievement sets. So
That's
there's like
awesome.
normal ones, and then there are really, really difficult ones. Like in Mega Man X on Retro Achievements, there's an achievement called Make Caleb Proud, and it's to do the iceless jump.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really wacky stuff over there. You should definitely check it out.
And they just work when you get them? Like, how does this even work?
Well,
you play it on emulator?
Yeah, they have a set of supported emulators. And
Okay.
I read the achievement development guide. They're doing a set of checks in the emulator's memory registers
Yeah.
to make sure that certain things are lined up to unlock an achievement.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Kind of like randomizer in a way. You can just keep track of your stuff. Cool. I need to give that a go at some point as well. See what kind of silly achievements you guys actually made there.
It's super fun. Highly recommended.
Go follow Ravenous. He's a really heavy RPG guy, I would say. I see him playing a lot of those games lately, but yeah, achievements as well. Those two words, RPG and achievements, follow Ravenous like shadow.
Yep, I would agree with that assessment.
But yeah, thank you, Ravenous, for joining me to this episode, and I will let you go for now, unless there's going to be a DLC for this podcast, but I'm sure there's not. But yeah, have a good rest of your day, and for all the viewers, please stay tuned for the next episode coming up whenever. I hope you have a good day and good night for now. Bye.